issue in a very critical way because I've been very much involved in the mungiki issue. I remember in 1997 when I was practicing law in UK, the issue of mungiki became very apparent, which informed us to find out what we were going to do with that brutal regime of President Moi, when he wanted to castrate all young Kikuyu males of the ages of 13 and 19. When he circled them and killed many of them, and many of them were thrown in Karura Forest, many of them were thrown in Ngong Forest. In addition to that, and you'll allow me to speak because I have a very strong history with the mungiki issue as somebody who led the UN to come into this country. At the same time, Moi was vilifying the young Kikuyu male. He also vilified the Kikuyu women, female, young kids. So I called Koigi Wamwere, who is still alive and who can verify this story. I invited him to come to London with the young Kikuyu males that had come in running away for asylum, and at that particular time, they had been denied asylum. So we had to lobby Kenneth Baker, who was the Prime Minister at that particular time. We had also to lobby Tony Blair and Lord Steele, a great friend of Raila Odinga. By that time, he was Steele of the Liberal Democrats. We went ahead and also included the Scottish National Party and also other political parties to look into the issue of thematic assassinations and killings of the Kikuyu male, of the Kikuyu young male, and depopulating their women. And this history that we are writing down. As a result of that, we lobbied the United Nations Human Rights Commission, of which they sent our special rapporteur, Professor Philip Sons, who came on a fact-finding mission in this country, and then he found out, what he found out was very appalling. He made his report to the United Nations in New York, and then the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Switzerland came up with guidelines on how to treat asylum seekers from this nation, especially of the Kikuyu origin. And that's why we heard for the first time lots of them being given asylum in the UK. I went ahead and joined the then president of Ghana, Jerry Rawlings, whom we convinced to ship out some of these mungiki leaders. As a result of that, many of them were shipped to Mozambique, one of them being Ndunge Wariungi, who was shipped out with a Portuguese passport. You can find that out from him. And because of thematic and systematic killings, our lives were put in danger, save for James Orengo and Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, who is sitting here, who came in London, made many trips in London to console with us, with those particular families that had lost their siblings. I hold the former president accountable for the thematic elimination of the Kikuyu community, something that Gachagua is now repeating. And let me assure you that we are appealing to the British government not on cameras. I am appealing to the British government not on cameras, but we know what you are going to do. To ban those who are involved from stepping foot in Britain and EU, to ban those who are spearheading these semantic and systematic killings of young Kikuyu men and women from setting foot in Britain, in USA. And I can assure you that when I say it, I mean it. And I know what I'm talking about. And with Baba being here, and the other lawyers being here, and other leaders being here, I can assure you for free that we, having been outside the country, knowing the history of what the Kikuyus did for this country, of what the Kikuyus have done in the entire world, of what the Kikuyus have done to open up the economic development of this country, of how much money is brought in this country through Kenyans in the diaspora, many of them who originated from Mungiki, many of them who remained outside, many of them who suffered, and thank God they have settled in UK, they have settled in the United States, and they are bringing money in the country to improve the economy of this country. Yet some MFs are now taking advantage of political ramifications to kill them. Gachagua is just a small man. You may have the barrel of the gun. You may have all the powers. You may have all the police. But when the day of reckoning comes, you'll be alone. We have seen other leaders who are here before who are used to doing that. Biot being one of them. Where is Biot today? Dead and buried 6 feet under the grave. What about people like those ones you know from Mount Kenya? When you take power and power corrupts you and you start eliminating people, you start cleansing people, you start ethnicization of one community. How do you think Kenyans are feeling about it? How do you think people in Uganda are feeling about it? How do you think the world is looking you at? Kenya was very peaceful until recently when madness came in after stealing the elections. You want us now to come and work with you? Oh, Professor Wajakoya can just be brought. And for those who are being bought, we know them. Time of reckoning will come. We are here to appeal to this government to leave Maina Njenga alone. Leave Maina Njenga alone, because you are just making a mole out of a mountain. Maina Njenga has played his role. Maina Njenga has paid for his whatever. Why would you just take one man, shoot his wives, kill them, shoot at him, and then now you want to disperse those young men? They're hungry. When you see a lion, don't think it is a lion when you can put your finger in its mouth. Gachagua has just put his mouth, he has just put his finger in the young men who are hungry, making Kikuyus to fight Kikuyus. How do you think other tribes in this country are feeling like? How do you think the Luos are looking at them? What about the Luyas and the Masais? Oh, Kikuyu sasa wameanza kupigana wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Kikuyus are very peaceful people. I have a daughter from that community. I have friends from that community. In the police, I've been promoted by people from that community. In the last general election, I was financially supported by people from that community. Please give me time. Please. I'm hungry. Give me time, because this is something which is going right inside my soul. We cannot allow this. We shall never allow this. And for you who are here, who are related to members of the Kikuyu community, how do you feel when one man who is using taxes belonging to the Kenyan people, who wants to eliminate the entire society, you kill one Kikuyu, 10 are born every day. Moi tried that. Kill 5, 100 are born. These are like the Jewish people. You cannot eliminate. Muzungus tried and they failed. Thank you very much.
I'm sure we will hear from the DAP party leader, Mheshimiwa Waziri wa Marwa. Yake si mrefu sana. You call back.
Asante sana. Kabla tujaleta kinara wetu baba aweze kuzungumzia hili jambo, wahenga walisema mbiu ya mgambo ikilia kuna jambo. Na leo tumesikia mbiu ya mgambo ikilia Mlima Kenya. Kwa hivyo kuna jambo. Nataka nishukuru sana viongozi wenzangu kutoka Mlima Kenya ambao wamezungumza hapa. Kwetu wanasema ukificha mgonjwa ama ugonjwa utasikia vilio. Nataka niwashukuru sababu wamekuja kusema kuna shida Mlima Kenya. And it's not a secret that the Kenya Kwanza regime came to power through a pack of lies. And in fact, the 8 months we have seen of the Kenya Kwanza regime is a boulevard of broken promises and broken dreams by many Kenyans, including our brothers and sisters from Mount Kenya region. It's not a secret that this illegitimate regime is losing support of the mountain day by day, and they're aware of it. And what they're planning to do, Chinua Achebe once said, when you see a toad jumping in broad daylight, there is something after its life. When you see someone who is supposed to be a president of a country and a symbol of national unity threatening members of parliament, someone who is supposed to be a deputy president threatening members of parliament and literally blackmailing members of parliament that if you do not do this, you will not get roads or you will not get development in your regions. There is something terribly wrong with what Bwana Ruto na Bwana Gachagua wamesema jana kutoa vitisho kwa wabunge wetu. But we also know that out there in the mountain, because they are aware they have lost support, they are preparing to use very strong arm tactics, and we are talking about a repressive regime that intends to mute the rebellion that is building in the mountain. And how will they do that? They say you give a dog a bad name and you hang it. As they are losing the support of majority of the young people, the borders, the mamambogas, the threat in the mountain is going to be like the days of Nyayo, the days of Mwakenya. All they needed to do is brand you a Mwakenya and plant something on you, and you'll be arrested. In the mountain, before open dissent is seen, they intend to use the word mungiki. Brand any young person who might be rebelling against this regime, including the border, who are feeling the weight of the high cost of petrol. And today they are no longer singing about the hustler who pretended to be one of them and has now abandoned that mamamboga who was on the headlines today. We want to thank you, the media, for calling out William Ruto and his lies, and for exposing the big lie that was using the mamambogas and the borders and the hustlers to get to power and then forgetting about them. So we want to say this issue of mungiki is not a Kikuyu issue. It is not a Mount Kenya issue. This is a national issue. It's a Kenyan issue. And we are here to stand in solidarity with the Mount Kenya leadership to say no to the Kenya Kwanza regime and their nefarious scheme of branding the Kikuyu youth mungiki, of using the mungiki name to bring repression in the mountain to forestall an open rebellion that is coming. That is what we want to say, and wish to now call our leader to come and address the nation on this matter of vital national importance. Your Excellency, Raila Amolo Odinga.
Thank you. Today was a day for the leadership from Central Kenya, the Mount Kenya region, to address an issue of extreme national importance. They say that the more things change, the more they remain the same. I have an occasion to talk about isolation and vilification of the people of the mountain region. And I remember in our days of the youth, during the struggle for independence, the Mama War, there was all the times an announcement in the radio that the Kikuyu, the Meru, na Embu ni watu hatari. Ukiona mmoja akipita, piga ripoti kwa polisi mara moja. That was an announcement which was used to be made on the radio all the times, to try to isolate the people from Mount Kenya who are fighting for their land which had been grabbed by the colonialists. These were Kenyan patriots who fought and paid a very heavy price for liberation of this country. Now it is so unfortunate that at this time and age, Kenya has now celebrated the 60th year of its independence, that somebody should try to use the very same tactics and methods that were used by the British to try to isolate the youth from this region. There is now an attempt to artificially re-establish Mungiki movement. And I've seen it happen in my own eyes. It's Maina Njenga, merely because he accompanied me to the funeral of our matriarch, Mukamu Kimathi, has since been vilified, been harassed. They have carried out searches, all his residences in Nyandarua, in Laikipia, in Nakuru, in Nairobi, planting even some kind of evidence. Some manner they've carried bang, and at times they're carrying guns and so on, to try to vilify him and find an excuse to arrest him, to detain him. The young youth who are themselves incensed by this harassment are now being classified as mungiki. But you have also seen Mr. Gachagua run around all Central Province talking about alcoholism among the youth, drugs and delinquency, and urging the chiefs and the police and the administration generally to deal firmly with this youth. Now the youth have nothing else to do. The youth are idle. And that's the reason why they resort to alcoholism. The answer to this is to provide the jobs for this youth. If the youth get something to do meaningfully, they will not be drinking. But they are getting into alcoholism because of lack of anything meaningful to do. You will remember we had brought a program when we were in government to try to put money into the pocket of this youth. Even the last regime had a program called Kazi Mtaani. Kazi Mtaani actually meaningfully engaged this youth. These people had said that they were going to get this youth engaged in tree planting and so on. They have not done anything. We used to have them cleaning the streets, garbage collection, and helping the community generally. And the youth were happy. They were not drinking. So Mr. Gachagua, a free advice to you, don't vilify these youth. Give them something meaningful to do. Second, Mr. Gachagua, you have been bragging all along that you are the sons of Mau Mau. You and your other counterpart called Kimani Ichung'wah. I want to challenge you today, Mr. Gachagua, to tell Kenyans your relationship with one Chief Nderi Gachagua Wang'ombe, who was assassinated by the Mau Mau in 1953 because of his collaboration with the brutal colonial regime. That Gachagua came from Madeira. So we want you to come clean and tell the Kenyans what is your relationship with that Nderi Gachagua Wang'ombe, the collaborator, so that people can then understand. And tell us also, if your father was a Mau Mau, what was his service number in the Mau Mau movement? The same thing with Kimani Ichung'wah. We have said, and I just want to underscore what these leaders from Central Province have said. They have said that they will not tolerate this, and we want to speak on behalf of other Kenyans, that we are fully in solidarity with what they have said. We'll stand strongly in solidarity with our people, friends, brothers and sisters from the Central Province. Central Province is very much part and parcel of Kenya, and we will make all the contribution needed to protect these people against harassment by this illegitimate regime. Thank you. Yes.
Jina langu ni Joel Chacha kutoka runinga ya K24 TV, na hapo kesho vuguvugu la 66 litakuwa linaandamana dhidi ya mswada wa fedha wa mwaka 2023, Finance Bill 2023, na kumekuwa na matumaini haswa licha ya Azimio kuzungumzia tu swala hili, vile vile labda mjitokeze katika streets za hapa Nairobi kuandamana haswa kuzuia Finance Bill kupita. Je, msimamo wenu kama Azimio, ikizingatiwa vile vile ulikuwa umesema hivi leo utatangaza mwelekeo wa wale ambao wana bila shaka fuatilia sera zako, labda uweze kueleza haswa mtafanya nini kushinikiza serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ambayo mmesema haisikii maoni yoyote ila maandamano.
Ile njama ya kujaribu kunyanyasa vijana wa mkoa wa Kati katika taifa letu. Tumeona njama kifanywa kujaribu kufanya watu hawa ni watu ni wahalifu, ati ni mungiki na kadhalika. Wengine wanashikwa, kwa mfano Mheshimiwa Maina Njenga amefuatwa kila mara kwa mara tangu wakati ule mwingine ambaye yeye mwenyewe aliandamana na mimi kwenda kwa mazishi ya marehemu Mkami Kimathi. Kila amefuatwa, wamefanya msako kwa nyumba vyake kule upande wa Nyandarua, upande wa Laikipia, Nakuru na hata hapa Nairobi. Na ameshikwa, mapelekwa kule mahakamani Nakuru, baadaye yakaletwa hapa kwa kikao kikuu cha DCI, baadaye akarudishwa tena kule mahakamani akishindikizwa na mawakili wetu huko. Kitu ya ajabu ni ya kwamba yule mahakama alipokuwa anatoa uamuzi wake anasema ati Bwana Njenga amepigwa marufuku kuongea au kufanya mambo yoyote, ambaye hakuna mtu ambaye aliomba yeye juu ya mambo haya. Kwa hivyo yeye mwenyewe anaonyesha kwamba kuna njama, na kwa upande mwingine hata mahakama inasurutishwa na hii serikali kufanya uamuzi kinyume na sheria. Tumesema sisi tutazimama imara nyuma ya wenzetu wa kutoka mkoa wa Kati. Vile vile nimesema Bwana Gachagua amekuwa akijigamba kila mara kwa mara ati yeye ni mtoto wa Mau Mau, yeye na Bwana Kimani Ichung'wah. Nimesema atueleze kinaga ubaga uhusiano wake na yule chief Nderi Gachagua wa Ng'ombe ambaye aliuawa na Mau Mau mwaka wa 1953 kwa sababu yeye mwenyewe alikuwa mshirika wa koloni, alikuwa anashiriki kunyanyasa wa Mau Mau wakati ule. Na tukisema kama baba yake alikuwa Mau Mau, atueleze nambari ya baba yake katika hiyo jeshi la Mau Mau. Hata Bwana Kamau Ichung'wah, tunataka kujua uhusiano wenu. Kama baba yako alikuwa Mau Mau, alikuwa anafanya wapi? Alikuwa anashiriki kwa vita wapi? Katika msitu gani? Sasa kwa mambo ya mswada ya fedha, sisi kama Azimio tutatoa msimamo wetu kamili siku ya Alhamisi. Siku ya Alhamisi tutatoa taarifa yetu kamili. Tutaeleza Wakenya kinagaubaga msimamo wetu kwa nini sisi tunapinga hiyo mswada na ile hatua ambayo tunataka Wakenya wachukue. Hiyo mswada ikiletwa kule kwa vitisho wakishurutisha bunge kupitisha hiyo mswada, lakini wabunge wetu wote tayari wameambiwa mswada nataka wale wapigaji kura wao waweke wao kwenye darubini ili wajue kwamba wao ni wasaliti wa wananchi wa Kenya. Asanteni sana. Nimetoa taarifa.
Maybe just a quick one, just away from the finance bill. The worrying now in counties is lack of funds, and that the government has raised some much. What do you think of the willingness of this government to support devolution? And number two, some political parties are complaining not to have received the political parties' funds. Has ODM received the funds, and what do you think is going forward in terms of the democracy in supporting the political parties?
About the funds, I'm told that there was a meeting today between governors and Mr. Gachagua. So I don't want to talk about, but all the times you have condemned the delay by the national government to remit funds to the county government. This government is actually trying to kill devolution, because if they're saying that they inherited an empty copper, you want to ask yourself, up to August last year, there were never any delays. And that regime of Uhuru Kenyatta was also collecting taxes from the people of Kenya. And they were able to pay, at least the following month, all the dues to the county government. What has happened since that time that we now have these serious problems? I think myself is that there is a deliberate effort to try to take over some of the functions which are being done by the county government. But also, everybody knows that corruption has shot up very exponentially since this regime came into power. So we have said ourselves that this regime is not up to what the Kenyans expect. And we are going to tell Kenyans what to do. I've been asked whenever I go, tangaza maandamano, tamaza maandamano. We are putting them on notice. Tutatangaza. Thank you.